I will say that probably In Time on Fresh is my favorite Sly song, but it's hard to say because he has so many gems.
You know my favorite.
Oh God, why do you like Time for Living?
No, not Time for Living. My favorite is Family Affair.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. We were editing Summer So, and Sly and the Family Stone was who we were editing, and in my head I was like, wow, like Sly doesn't know that 10 days from this very performance, his life's going to completely shift upside down, and what happens in the next 4 years after Woodstock should be one for the history books. And I was just kind of saying, like, man, like that's the documentary we really should be doing. And literally 24 hours later, out of nowhere, of all people, Common calls me. It's like, yeah, I read in Variety, y'all doing that Black Woodstock film. Hey, you interested in Sly and the Family Stone? Because he's in that Woodstock film, right? And literally, I thought, like, you know, Siri was giving me away or whatever. I'm like, I literally just said this to those guys yesterday, that this is what we need to be doing. So the project found us. For this one, it's a roller coaster of storytelling as far as emotions are concerned. So
I think one of the biggest differences with this film versus Summer of Soul is it's not a particular time and place. It's one person's story across 50 years. And I think one of the hardest things that we had to do was, like, how much of the story, do we put in the movie? 50 years is a lot to cram into 2 hours. And so I think the challenge of making those choices is part of what the fun part was. That part of that acquiring his rights was his blessing, right? Mm-hmm. We couldn't interview him for this film because his health problems prevent him from, and it just wouldn't be good to put him on camera. Yeah. And that's kind of how the title came about, right? It's like whether he's here in physical form or not, because we weren't sure, if he would still be alive by the time we finished the movie. Whether he's here in physical form or not, his music lives on, his influence lives on. We showed him the film at the end as a courtesy, and through his manager and caretaker, she said that he loved it and was very proud. And then Thursday night we had our premiere here, and the his three kids were here, and they were seeing it for the first time. And that was such a special feeling. I don't know if you got a chance to talk to Navina after, but she was like, there's things in there that I didn't know about my father.
For me, the best part of this process was going through the hundreds and hundreds of hours of reels of music, listening to alternate takes, listening to songs morph drastically into what we now know it as, but starting off totally different. Squabbles with the engineer, Sly playfully chastising band members. It's like a music freak's ideal fly on the wall situation. So that said, I mean, that people know, I will say that probably In Time on Fresh is my favorite Sly song, but it's hard to say because he has so many gems.
You know my favorite.
Oh God, why do you like Time for Living?
No, not Time for Living. My favorite is Family Affair.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And what's funny is that song is so short. The version that's out in the world is like 3 minutes long. So when we were putting together the soundtrack, Amir did an edit of that song that sort of mimics a little bit the original version, which is like 4 minutes and 50 seconds.
Almost 5 minutes.
So yeah, that was pretty cool. How Amir and I even know each other is I was a music journalist, and in 1996 I got assigned a story on the Roots that would be my first cover story. It was also the first time the Roots were on a cover of an American music magazine. I got flown to Philadelphia to interview them, and that's how we met. And we clicked right away. Because at his heart, Amir is a fan, but also, I think deep down inside, wanted to be a music journalist. He knew what pieces I had written, what reviews I had written, and for many years after that meeting, we would argue about rap records. And it's really kind of incredible to work with one of your musical heroes But it's also really kind of incredible to see Amir on the other side now, being the storyteller and getting to sort of fulfill that dream. So that's a real joy for me.
It's also us being in a place where we want to be the change that we want to see. And oftentimes you'll see, like music documentaries, not to put anyone that's ever attempted, because there's some music documentaries that are life-changing, but more often than not, it's just, typical talking head says, that's incredible, and you just, you got to teach people why something's incredible, put it in proper context, and that's the fun part. I think that's the difference between our level of storytelling is you could immediately tell that music is like our wheelhouse, our passion, and it shows.
There's a scene in the movie where we break down dance to the music, and I think very intentionally we wanted to give the viewer and the audience the tools to see why it's such a catchy song, but also why it's very sophisticated and what Sly did that isn't easy to replicate. And having Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and Nile Rodgers, who break down exactly the parts of the song and why it's catchy, like that kind of part of the storytelling is really exciting. And I think that's the thing, at least I think Amir would agree, is
I agree.
We take that technique that'll probably be used in future documentaries we do.